Welcome, everybody, to podcast number 269. Do you want a better way to manage your exterior? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'd like to introduce our topic today. This is about exterior management. Now, although I work with heavy civil contractors, and this podcast applies to horizontal work, to civil work, to industrial work, and a number of different industries. A lot of my examples are from vertical work, meaning buildings and high rises and things like that. So this example today will also be in reference to that. But one thing that I find common is that exteriors are a lot like sites. That might sound a little bit silly because, one is vertical and one's horizontal. But I really do find that the spatial management, the geographical management, the interface management, the rhythm management of an exterior is a whole lot like civil and site work. Now, and just stay with me. One of these days, I'm hoping that clicks as well on maybe one of our Lean Takt YouTube channel videos or whatever. But exterior management is key. And I'm going to go over some principles tonight that will really, really get you thinking about how you want to go manage your own exterior on your project. And you know what? I'll do another podcast about site and civil management that will tie directly to it, and that I think you'll absolutely love. So let's get right into this. One thing that I do want to say that I learned today I'm doing this coaching program for personal fitness. This is just my little introduction here, because right now, the clarity of my life is spot on. My energy from a normal standpoint is spot on, but I need to get my health. I am getting my health where it needs to be. And then personal organization is where it needs to be, and then accountability, influence, and those other things according to the 6 high performance indicators. I'm working on all that, but I'm starting this personal fitness coaching program. And this guy's got me, Eric Rogers has got me reading this book. Gosh, let me see if I can find this book really quickly. I have to mention it. Hold on. So I'll get it out of my bag here. It is called, Psycho-Cybernetics. And I really, really liked it. And I know that sometimes I get to talking about different things and it's like, Jason, would you please focus? But bear with me here really quickly. Because this ties into everything that we do in construction. Let me get to the chapter. You can probably hear the pages in the background rustling. Let me get to this page. Okay, here we go. So what he was talking about, this was a really interesting example. In the author in his career as a plastic surgeon, he would fix, a woman's nose or some feature that society considered ugly. And then after the surgery and after recovery, she was beautiful, but still she thought she was ugly. And the reason is because there's such a thing as self-image. And I haven't given enough credence to this concept before, but I will now. Your actions, feelings, behaviors, even your abilities are always consistent with this self-image. And then we reinforce that self-image. So if we're like, yeah, we're ugly or I'm stupid or whatever, then we'll go take actions that will kind of prove that to ourselves. And then we say, see, here's proof, right? And so we always step up to the self-image that we have, of ourselves. And some people are like, well, I don't believe in that positive thinking nonsense. Well, he's not talking in the book, and I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm talking about, who are you really? What is the truth around the situation? You will come up with ideas that seem to be consistent with your old way of thinking, but you really need to be authentic and realistic about who you really are. And so that's the extent of what I'm going to talk about tonight in this little intro. The point being If I say, let me give you a perfect example. Sometimes I've been off-putting to certain people. A lot of people have liked me in the past. Some people I've put off. They're like, Jason's not my style, right? So I've said in the past, hey, I probably make this half of the room upset. This half of the room likes me. And I've just had this self-image of myself. So I act accordingly. I really need to know that who I really am is a likable, connecting, forgiving, loving person, and that anybody has the opportunity to like and enjoy being around me. And look at the difference there. If I automatically assume that half of the people in the world don't like me, I'll act as such and be careless and throw people away. If I believe that I'm likable and influential to all types of people in a diverse group and to everybody, I will act more kind, more loving, more accepting, continue to relate to a wider audience, always be receptive to feedback, things like that. So our self-image is crucial. And I'm not talking about positive self-reinforcement. I'm talking about, can you describe who you really are, where you're going to go, and align all of your actions and behaviors and life pursuits in that direction? And the answer is yes. So we'll talk about that more in future podcasts, but your self-image, not positive fake self-talk, but positive self-image, telling the truth of who you authentically are and who you can become, is absolutely key. So let's get right into this. I've got two things before I start the podcast. Number one, what am I excited about in life? Well, this is a big one, actually. So Elevating Construction Takt Planning, we had to get that book out in order to get feedback. If you try to get feedback for a book that you're writing, because everybody's like writing a book and it's not real until it's published, you really don't, I can tell you from experience, you don't get feedback. But if you publish something, a minimum viable product, you'll get feedback from everywhere. And I'm finding that's true for the Takt Planning book, is that we have a number of experts that are backing us up and supporting us and sending us data and formulas and feedback. And so Spencer and I are working on the edition number 2 of Elevating Construction Takt Planning. We will update that. We will expand the Fable. We will add concepts and formulas. We are going to work on, like I said, getting pictures and QR codes for every section. So that's the thing that I'm mostly excited about. I know I've talked to you about this before, but I have to say that what that book can become and the certification trainings and Takt planning can do for this industry blows me away every day that I think about it. You're probably getting tired of me hearing about it, but if you're getting tired of me, you can either turn off the podcast or you can dive into it. I want you to dive into it and be like, what in the world could be so interesting that Jay Money keeps talking about this all the time? All right, so now I've got some tough feedback. So we usually get positive feedback. This is some tough feedback. So here you go. Many of your podcasts are loaded with a ton of stuff. And although I love your enthusiasm, when you are covering so much information, it seems a little hectic at times. When you are in the zone and discussing the point of the podcast, you are knocking it out of the park. But when filling in all the extra, it gets to be a little too much. So if this is true, I want to stop doing that. So if I'd like to get at least 2 or 3 comments. So if you're like, I should give Jason some feedback, please do so. If this is true, I can cut out the welcome. I can cut out the, what am I excited about in life? I can cut out the fan feedback. I can cut those things out and not ramble as much. The problem is on the podcast numbers that the podcast numbers seem to favor the longer and more complex podcast topics. So I need some feedback. So if this is true, I want to stop doing it. I don't want to fall in love with my own voice. I want to fall in love with, and I am in love with, the person listening. So I want raving fans, and to have raving fans, I need to have raving content. So please let me know. I'd love 2 or 3 of you at least to give me feedback to see if this is in fact true, and not just a preference, to see how I can update the podcast to take care of that. So here we go, right into it. Let's get into it. You can make you can make your life much easier on yourself for exterior management than you now do. So let's go ahead and talk about something. When I was working at DPR, there was a project. It was the Banner Good Samaritan Tower. Fantastic job. That's a landmark project for DPR. It's somewhat famous, really. And they tracked their exteriors and their work on a Bluebeam project for all of their unitized curtain wall, for their exteriors, for their roadblocks. They had everything there. When I went toward the project, I saw this and stole the idea from them, but it originated there. And then at BSRL, we created Bluebeam projects, not sessions, but Bluebeam projects that had a polygon that would shade either the room or on the exterior the shapes of either the room or the unitized panels or the scopes of work on the exterior. And what you're able to do is set a status and a color to these. I've talked to you about it before. And so when you click on that object, you can maybe your status is layout, overhead fire sprinkler, priority walls, wall framing, overhead mechanical, whatever your sequences are. And then the colors that these objects change to as you select the status, the colors match the Takt plan. And they're great for two reasons, because you have a live file with updates. Like what better tracking mechanism than to have a Bluebeam project showing daily updates to the project, to the flow of that project. It's absolutely amazing. And you're able to put leaders and red text in there for all of the roadblocks and see visually how roadblocks are affecting you, the progress of the floor, and then other styles of communication that help you and the owner and the trade partner. So really great stuff. That's where I started to realize what exterior management could be. There was another one. It was BSPB. It was a U of A project up in Phoenix with Peter Berg and, oh gosh, what's his name? He's going to kill me for forgetting this. Anyway, so a couple really great folks. They had an exterior tracker like this that was fantastic. And Brad Marshall was the superintendent on there. Who was the assistant PM? Boy, I'm going to get in trouble for this. But anyway, they did a great job on exterior management. So I started to piece all this together and realized that there's much more to exterior management than I thought. So I want to talk to you about a couple of principles for this. Your exterior is probably one of the most important considerations on the building, because you need to dry it in. Your demising walls, your interior rough and your interior framing depend on exterior framing. Your interior drywall depends on exterior closing, and your commissioning depends on the entire exterior coming together, right? And then your exterior kicks off the interiors. So literally, the superstructure is key, but then it's the exterior. So superstructure so it's really make ready, foundation, superstructure, exterior. These are the key predecessors or preceding phases for all other key scopes of work. And your exterior can make and break you. For Phoenix, we'll go ahead as soon, even before reshores are out, we'll start building the inside of the guts of the building and start going to town. And so that's what we do in Phoenix. Some parts of the country, it rains so much, it's so cold, you have to build that exterior. It's even more on the critical flow. And so we have to take this into consideration. So I've talked to you about an exterior flow analysis before, and there are videos about this on Lean Takt YouTube channel and leantakt.com. But briefly, I'll say you break up the exterior into what I call production areas or Takt zones, broken up by different types, scopes, interfaces. Then you schedule a Takt train, through pull planning techniques, through collaborative techniques for each production area, each Takt zone. Then you list those out and you plug in the constraints. Constraints are, okay, I can't build this till this other section and the flashing is done, or I can't build this till the hoist is down, or I can't build this until the crane is up. Plug in the constraints. And each of these horizontal Takt trains will start to move left and right all over the schedule. Then what you do is you pick your most critical bottleneck trades and you do a flow analysis and you go, okay, 1, 2, this one's not ready yet, 3, 4. You go through it and you identify a flow. And I was talking to Brian Melcher with FieldVerified today about this because he's doing some presentations. He's great, by the way, for a building enclosure consultant and testing company. Fantastic people over there. But we were talking about how the exterior really has to go in certain key steps. It has to go in the right way. It has to be quality controlled the right way. It has to be tested the right way. And it's all based on interface, right? On the interiors, you're really in a production flow. For exterior, it's really all about the interfaces. So there's only one thing worse than not knowing the proper installation steps for the exterior. And the only thing worse is knowing the proper installation steps and not scheduling it that way and creating flow. So the first thing that I would do on your exterior is an exterior flow analysis. And the second thing that has to be in place is a fanatical roadblock removal system. And I would recommend those Bluebeam project maps from literally day one. So here are some suggestions that I'm going to go through when you're managing your exterior trade partners as a partner on your team. First of all, in design, bring them on as partners if you possibly can, if the exterior warrants it. Most of the time it does. I walk around and I tour projects and it's like, oh, there's the interiors, there's the site work going, there's no exterior curtain wall. Oh, gee, what a surprise. That doesn't happen on every project. Oh, wait, it does. And it's because we don't start to schedule these soon enough. So when you begin design development, get those trade partners in and on board, start to get them working with the design team on details, and you start procurement as soon as you possibly can. You design that mock-up, you start to get glass samples, you start to get those dies detailed out and approved. You for the extrusions on your curtain wall, you make sure that you're heading in a great direction. In design development, you need to get all that done, scheduled out. And you need to release at risk or get an early financial release or whatever you need to do, because you just need to plan on 8 to 9 months for exterior curtain wall or some of these other systems. And if it's perforated thick metal panels, you're in bigger trouble. So you cannot start early enough for the exteriors. We have to get that going. So the key thing here is supply chain management. When we do a flow analysis and in our schedules, we were like, oh, let's do northeast, southwest, northeast, southwest. That's never going to be a good schedule. If your scheduler just plugged in northeast, southwest, or level by level on the exterior, they don't know what they're doing. An exterior system never comes together like that. It has to be done with a flow analysis. So what's worse than not doing a flow analysis with Takt planning? Doing a flow analysis with Takt planning too late and having released the materials, the glass and everything else early on in the wrong sequence. So that's another reason why in design development, once you know the exterior systems, we have to do an exterior flow analysis, find out the ideal sequence with which we're going to build the exterior, and then make sure the procurement of glass and metal panels and all of these supplies and the fabrication of them are heading in that direction, or else we are in trouble. And so that is key. The other thing is mock-ups. Most of the time we don't have mock-ups on the exterior because we don't get them done enough time. It's literally just an assembly mock-up. It's not a performance mock-up. It's not a materials. It's not a design mock-up. For it to be a design mock-up or a performance mock-up, it would have to be built and tested before the design is finished and before everything's ordered. But we never get that done in time. So why not go ahead? And I'm literally telling you to do this. So Brian Melcher at FieldVerified does this. You can move the mock-up to their location early on in design. The trade partners go there to build it. They do the testing and the confirmations and everything right there, months before you can ever break ground or put the mock-up on site. It's done at 10% of the cost, and you can actually get performance and design mock-ups, not just the assembly mock-ups, because you're able to get it in enough time to actually make some decisions. So mock-ups are key. The other thing is begin coordination meetings. I remember Ryan Young. Boy, I'm doing a lot of name dropping today. Ryan Young with DPR, when he was my project manager at the BSRL, he was like, Jason, let's go ahead. Let's get these exterior trade partners in here for a bi-weekly coordination meeting. And I was like, that's a little early, right? But we started doing it. We vetted through it and we got the exterior done on time. I will always start exterior coordination meetings for pre-construction and construction in design development, early in design. The other thing is you need to be bringing on your exterior enclosure consultants early, talking to them, listening to them. What's worse than not having an exterior enclosure consultant? Having one and not listening to them happens all the time. And so we have to get better at doing this. So here's something else. If you get the wisdom of the exterior consultant, enclosure consultant and testing agency, and you know how to piece it together, you know the sequence, you know the interfaces, you know the constraints, you know the predecessors, you know the successors, you have a flow analysis, you've built your procurement, you've released your procurement, you're tracking that, you're doing your mock-ups, and you're coordinating with the consultant, right? You need to make sure that all other systems, all other schedules are aligned with it. So you have a great plan for the exterior. Now, how does the exterior affect the interior? Do you have perimeter rooms? Does that affect your interior sequence? Does it affect your interior staging? How does the exterior affect your site work? And your site work phasing and everything else that you have from a commissioning standpoint on that building. Okay. So that's what we really need to be doing. I bet you most of the time in Arizona, you're going to have perimeter rooms where you have to come back around the perimeter and tie into the exterior. I don't know if you have that in places like Washington and other, New York, where you have a lot of weather. You probably build the exterior first and you have longer schedules. The other thing is I would not leave any guessing in the detail for an exterior sequence, meaning if they have curtain wall and metal panel schedules to get unitized curtain wall out there, stick built curtain wall, metal panels, whatever, I want to know when they're doing shop drawings. I want to know when they're doing samples. I want to know when they're detailing the extrusions. I want to know when approvals come back. I want to know when the glass is ordered. I want to know everything. And once you have that plugged into preferably a Takt plan, but worst case scenario CPM schedule, and you have points of release. Right. So when you release the dies for the extrusions, you design those, right? That's a point of release. When you release the glass, that's a point of release. When you start shop fabrication, that's a point of release. All points of release need to be scheduled as a meeting in Outlook for the entire team to see. That way you show up on a Monday on the project and you're like, yep, you have to, or we're expecting section A of the exterior glass release today. Then you pick up the phone and you call them, hey, did that happen? That is one of the best ways with all points of release for a team to make sure that they don't miss any of these. Because when we have late exterior procurement, usually it's because, we didn't get the release. Oh, we didn't get the release because of this. Oh, because we don't have the R5 back. Well, you want to make sure you don't forget that. Put it on an Outlook calendar for everybody to see. The other thing I would do that with is field measurement. Right. Have you ever heard, we'll order the metal panels and it's 6 to 18 weeks after field measurement? Well, let's go ahead and get that field measurement on the Outlook calendar and make sure that we're doing it, because it's all about the points of release with exterior curtain wall. There's a couple of tips here. Make sure that as little material is coming from China as possible. You've heard the joke about a slow boat from China. When you see late metal panels and late materials for exterior, it's on a boat from China. That's the problem. Every time it gets delayed, the shipments aren't the same. There's a delay. The Panama Canal gets stuck. It gets stuck in customs in California. Always be wary. And then the trade partners will say, well, we can do it in-house, meaning in the United States, but it goes through the same process. Well, here's the difference. I can't drive to China, but I can drive to Southern California and see if they're powder coating these things. Go do as much domestic fabrication of these things as possible. Make sure to write that in the contracts and follow up. The other thing is watch for field measurements. Anything, and so I would ask, and here's a couple of things I would always ask for. I would ask the exterior trade partners to identify what is basically taken from standard dimensions from the drawings and what is field measured. Highlight me a drawing showing that. Separate all unitized and stick-built curtain wall. I want to know what is what so I can project production rates. I want to know what each lead time is. So on an exterior metal panel or curtain wall, drawing, I want you to write down 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 20 weeks. I want a drawing from the exterior trade partners showing lead times. I also want drawings showing transitions. This can only go after this flashing, which can only go after this installation. Which, all of the constraints that you have on that building, whether it's steel fabrication, steel installation, the installation of flashing, the removal of the hoist, whatever. I want to see drawings from the trade partners that have them think and provide data so that we can really plan the project. The other thing would be staging and logistics. I want to see where their boom lifts are going to be. I want to see where their swing stages are going to be. I want drawings showing field measurements, unitized versus not, lead times, transitions, staging, logistics. I want all the data highlighted on drawings so that exterior can be scheduled, planned, scheduled, and managed. So like I said, once you have all that and you have a flow system and you have a fairly predictable schedule, now it's time to clear the way. Here are some really neat ways to clear the way. Number one, follow your quality process and create a visual feature of work board for every scope of work on the exterior. You do mock-ups, include those comments from the mock-ups in that board. You've done the quality process, include all of your checklist items into that board. You've got an exterior trade partner, get all of their wisdom and put that on a board with bullet points, visual pictures, and explanations so that every crew has a printed 18 by 24 visual foam core board for every scope of work, and they are doing quality at the source. Second thing, have roadblock tracking maps and start to see roadblocks 6 weeks ahead. Another thing that I've seen an exterior contractor do here in Phoenix is to come out and walk the site and to take pictures of where they're going to be next week and to notify the general contractor of things that have to be moved or prepared in order for the work to flow. And that has worked very, very well. Now, this whole podcast is going to be worth it for what I'm about to tell you. Do not go do a water test or any kind of exterior envelope testing with the owner unless you've tested that area yourself first. You do not ever fail an exterior water test with your owner, ever. As soon as you fail a test, as soon as you fail a water test or a chamber test or any of these tests, then they're like, oh my gosh, the whole thing is wrong. I once failed some tests and they made me test every stinking window on the building. Do not lose their trust. So best practice, you're going to start testing. So in 2 weeks, we're going to test these 10 windows. You pay extra money. I just said that. You pay extra money and have FieldVerified or a company like that come out and test them and make sure they all pass and then do the test again. Does that sound unlean? Absolutely, that's unlean. That's waste. That's over processing. I'm totally hypocritical from a lean standpoint. But I tell you what, that waste is 1,000,000 times more tolerable than pissing off an owner and having them not trust you from a quality standpoint. Do not leave your exterior testing to happenstance. Really listen to your exterior consultants, quality control everything and test it. So the test that you do with the owner is a confirmation that you passed. If you don't have 100% certainty that you're going to pass that test, then you're not ready. 100%. So I want you all to make work ready from a schedule standpoint. Now, these are some tips and tricks for you. I really enjoy, just one quick thing that really annoys me. Make sure you clean the exterior windows and get the cleaning crews started on time. There's nothing worse than having a beautiful building and then having a bunch of gunk on the outside of the building and the windows not, beautiful and pristine clean. Make sure that looks really nice, please. And let's make sure that the product that we're giving is beautiful and watertight and it protects from moisture, from thermal considerations, and it's installed in a remarkable way and on time. And guess what? Here's how you install on time. And I told Brian Milcher this today, but he already knew it. I was just saying it to him in a video. That there's a saying that says buildings leak at the intersection of contracts. But also buildings leak at the fluctuation of crews, meaning if you don't have a flow, if you haven't designed your exterior with a Takt plan, you're going to have 4 workers one day, 6 the next, 8 the next, then down to 4, and then 12. And you get all these new people and handoffs and changes and miscommunications, and oh, there's a new caulker, and now I missed that joint. That's when quality really starts to fail. You have to have flow, consistent crews that know what they're doing, that are watching those exterior feature of work boards with visuals that are being QC'd every day, tracked in the exterior roadblock maps on a Bluebeam project, clearing the way with roadblocks, all based on an exterior flow analysis together as a team with quality done from the start. Wow, I can't believe I just said all that. That was pretty good, everybody. So here's the current condition. We don't intentionally plan the exteriors, and we need to. And so my challenge is really dive in and have a plan and get some help. If you want some help, there's a company on the East Coast. I'm going to have to find out their name, but FieldVerified in Phoenix coordinates with these folks. They're really great, but I want you to be using FieldVerified for your exterior consulting and testing needs anywhere in the country. Give them a call. They're fantastic. But here were some tips and tricks on how to manage the exteriors of your project. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.